Um, oops, I don't know what that was. Okay. And, was a brahmachari for 7 years, did traveling Sankirtan for 4 years, then got married. And anyway, I'm over here now in Gainesville, Florida. And I just, I basically about 10 years ago, I woke up to a lot of the corruption that was going on in Iskcon. And then I just decided I'm just going to listen to Srila Prabhupada, and he's the only one I could trust. So that's when I started about 10 years ago, listening to Prabhupada every day, associating with him through sound. And it's just transformed my life completely. And it's been quite ecstatic.
Yeah.
So and then
you see, okay, go ahead. Please talk.
And no, that's fine. And then also just on a side note, I do intuitive energy healing also. So I introduce people to Srila Prabhupada through the healing work, through the more of the subtle realm. Just it's a good way of teaching people they're not the body when they're actually going into altered states of consciousness. So, but then they need the guidance of Srila Prabhupada not to get lost on the mental realm, for sure. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Are you originally from India?
No, I'm French Canadian originally. Originally.
Oh, really?
Yes, from Montreal.
Montreal, yes. I have a piece of. I have a house in Saranagati in BC.
Oh, I was in Sharanagati. What is your name, Prabhu?
Narayan Das.
Oh, you have a house. You have a house in Sharanagati?
You know where that big lodge is?
Which one? The big one? You mean the big lodge where they used to have the temple?
Well, not the one with I'm talking about a great big, like 3-story building.
That must have happened after I was there. When I was in Sharanagati, I used to do traveling Sankirtans. I would stop in Sharanagati. That was back in 1994, 95.
Yeah, I don't think I bought it until maybe 1998.
Are you talking about the one that belonged to Sarada?
To who?
Sarada and Lakshminath. They had a house that they sold. I don't know if it was 3-story, but.
No, I'm talking about a thing that looks gigantic. It's like 6,000 square feet.
I don't remember. I just remember there was a temple.
You know,
that
it could be he hadn't built it yet.
Yeah, they built a huge one that it wasn't completely finished.
Yeah,
it's close to Ghoshtakur Prabhu's place.
Well, it's very close to where Jamuna was living. It's very close to where I'm trying to remember her name, Vishaka and her husband were living. Yaduvar and Vishaka were living.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was there before them, so I don't know actually where they were.
Okay, then you were definitely there before me.
Well, it's nice to meet you,
Prabhu. You sound 20 years old.
Oh no, I'm gonna be 50. I'm gonna be 50 in April.
Really? Very unbelievable.
Yes. Well, I don't know how unbelievable that is, but
well, it's
anyway,
probably because of your excellent astral psychic activity.
I think it's because of Srila Prabhupada. He's keeping us young.
Well, that is true, but Prabhupada keeps us young if we know how to access Prabhupada. But in Iskcon, most of the people don't know how to do that, do they?
Well, that's because they try to use him for their own agenda. That's the problem.
Absolutely. Oh, really? I like your whole point of view. Oh, Ramachandra.
Yes, I'm here.
You have that paper, that paper which you mentioned on the phone. If you have it, that should be the paper that we read today. at whatever time you like. Okay?
Okay. Sure. What I want to do is let's get some discussion.
Yeah.
Let's get the discussion going, and we can read that. So I just want to
read it, but I'm fascinated. What is your name, Prabhu Mataji? Prabhu again?
Vaishnavi Devidasi.
Vaishnavi Devidasi, well named.
Thank you.
Yes, well, that's good. So you can take as much time as you like and say whatever you like. Whatever you're saying is very healing.
Thank you, Prabhu. You're very generous. I see there's other devotees there. Krishna, Elizabeth, and
maybe they can. Yes, please. Let's introduce ourselves to Vaishnavi Prabhu here. She's
you can call me Mataji. I'm totally happy
Mataji,
with being a mother.
Okay.
Mataji or Vaishnavi, that's fine. Vaishnavi is such a nice name. I like calling you Vaishnavi Prabhu.
Anything, it's fine. Anything is fine. Thank you.
Jai. So my name is Randall Singh. I'm from Sacramento. We were originally from Fiji. We migrated to the United States back in 95, 96, I forget. When I was in 5th grade, from Fiji, we came to Sacramento, and then I'm 36 years old, and I got introduced to Krishna consciousness back in 2008. I was looking for spirituality in 2008. Then I saw some videos online. I was hearing from different Mayavadi gurus and looking for a guru and this and that. Then I looked at the Bhagavad Gita in 2008, 2009, I forget. I heard about it. I went on eBay and then I bought a Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. And then at the same time, I was listening to different people talking about Bhagavad Gita, but these were primarily Mayavadis, and I was also listening to Prabhupada's classes. I was highly offended by his very strict and direct, cutting words. But later on, I found out, actually, he was referring to me and my activities and what I was doing. So then I went to, yes, here is a saintly person. Then I started listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, conversations, and how he was presenting Krishna consciousness for several years. And then I went to India. I stayed at an ashram in India, and the guru there was not bona fide. I stayed there about 6 months. When I came back, I heard, he fell down, and then I took association of the local Iskcon congregation people here. Was never satisfied with their understanding, and they was always telling me to, you need a living guru, you need this, you need that. But I was like, whatever Prabhupada is saying is making sense to me. So why do I need a guru? I never took to their guru business. I met many of the so-called Iskcon gurus, Jai Pataka, Bhakti Vikas Swami. So, and then, I started the book distribution here. Some people joined me, and then we collected some money. And then eventually, we had a program going, and eventually they kicked me out from so I was like, all right. So when I got kicked out, I thought, okay, I guess I was planning to get kicked out.
Why did they kick you out?
Because I was really against what they were doing, this guru, this fanatical guru business that they do. Trying to sign people up with a different guru than Prabhupada. And then I was very vocal about it. And then, what was it, 2014, they kicked me out or something? Or something like that. And then I continued my distribution of books and programs. And then we started this Iskcon discussion with Narayan Prabhu, a year and it's been a year and 2 months now, Narayan Prabhu, I was saying the other day.
I'm surprised. I thought it was less.
Yeah. And then here we discuss all these issues and we invite people to share their realization. And then, that's, we're here now. That's my kind of short journey in Krishna consciousness. I have a son and a daughter. I'm married. My daughter is, how old are you, Rinda? 5 years old. And my son is 3 years old. So that's about my introduction, Prabhu. Rupa Manjari, maybe you can introduce yourself to Vaishnavi, Prabhu.
Well, yes. I joined the movement in 2005. And that was when I first met Narayan, who I actually married, but we're not married any longer. And yeah, I from the beginning got the right association, which I'm very fortunate to have had, because I was introduced to several of Iskcon's gurus because they were trying to get me to take initiation from them. And from the beginning, I was just like, something off of these guys, I don't, they don't seem like somebody that would be a liberated soul, or whatever words that I had at that time to encapsulate what a guru would be to someone like me. So I didn't take initiation from them. And when I met Narayan, he made it clear that I didn't need to take initiation from them to be a disciple. So I've been what they call it Ritvik for many, many years now. And then I started coming on the Zoom conversation, which Narayan introduced me to. And the people here are, they have a lot of positive ideas for how we can make a difference in the world today and in the future. And that's it.
Joy. All right,
Jai,
Vinayak
thank you.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Ramachandra, why not introduce yourself as Ramachandra also?
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes. Well, it's a bit, how can we explain Ramachandra, my initiated name? It's hard to explain how
because you get that by accepting Prabhupada as your spiritual master.
Jai, yes.
Has nothing to do with me.
Oh, and my name, my spiritual name is Rupa Manjari Devi Dasi.
Jai.
So anyone that surrenders to Prabhupada is entitled to get a spiritual name from someone representing Prabhupada. That does not make that person a disciple, the person that gives them the name. It just means that name comes to that person from Krishna because Krishna wants them to have that name.
Right.
But it has nothing, it's not like a ritual. It's not like a thing you have to do to be a member of Iskcon. The Iskcon people think you do, but it's not true.
All right, Narayan Prabhu, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit, Narayan Prabhu, when you joined and a little bit about, so Vaishnavi Prabhu can know, and then we'll go to Vinayak.
This is Marie Trempe. Is this who you are?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I was trying to see how I could change my name there because I have it because sometimes I used to use the Zoom with clients. So
sure.
I don't know how I don't know how to change the name.
That's all right. That's good. So this is a photograph of you, I think. Either that or you're not moving very much.
I'm so sorry. What did you say?
This must be a photograph of you.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Even that photograph I need to change too. It was about maybe 3 years ago, but
no, that's fantastic. So anyhow, that's trivial. And let me, did you ever hear of me before? Were you initiated in Iskcon at all?
I was initiated in Iskcon, yes. And
by whom?
Gopal Krishna.
Oh, Gopal Krishna, yeah. Yeah, I've known Gopal Krishna when he was living in Toronto, I believe, and he was married to a
Yeah, this
young lady.
Spanish
Very nice.
devotee, I forgot her name also. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was Mexican, I think.
I'm not sure Mexican. It was something more like not Puerto Rican, but
Oh,
something
could be. Yeah.
could be. Yeah. Anyhow, that's not so important. And so he was living there, and I knew him from New York in 1968.
Mm.
So I still know him. And we're friends. You know, I mean, I'm friends with everybody. Why not? Even they are gurus. I have no reason not to be friends because they're all God brothers. But that doesn't mean I approve of what they're doing, even slightly. So anyhow, Gopal Krishna, that's nice. And Gopal Krishna was a great patron of my brother, Makanlal Das, who recently passed away a few months ago in November of last year. Yeah. So anyhow, he's a friend, but you're quite wise to have separated yourself because there isn't a single Iskcon guru who is necessary. The position we're taking is that Prabhupada is the last Sampradaya guru before the end of the golden age of Kali. Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago, 550 years ago, and he established, as Yuga Avatar, he established religion from the scratch, meaning no religion, just spiritual life, chanting, that's it, from the scratch. That means God can eliminate religion. I mean, he can eliminate Christianity, he can eliminate Judaism, he can eliminate Islam, he can eliminate the Vedic culture, which no longer is operable. It crashed and burned too. So when Lord Chaitanya appeared, he eliminated religion from the face of the earth, replaced it with the holy name of Krishna, chanting the Mahamantra, which I recently learned is a Shaktavesha avatar. In other words, it's like Buddha or Parsuram. It's a
Yes.
avatar.
Yes.
You know that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's
Yes.
incredible. So my own history is that I met Prabhupada in 1967. Actually, the San Francisco Temple on Frederick Street, which was there, that time. I was supposed to have that as my sculpture studio, and somehow they snuck it away from my landlord and took it over. And I was sort of annoyed. But then I heard, oh, Swami, he must be a nice guy. So I didn't go to war. Little did I know that a year and a half, 2 years later, I'd be sleeping in the basement of the building that I thought was going to be my studio.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so that's just how things work. But when I met Srila Prabhupada, when I understood who Prabhupada was, I immediately wanted to take initiation, to the extent that I didn't want to walk across the street, even with a green light, because I thought, what if somebody comes and hits me with a car and kills me before I'm initiated by Prabhupada? That's how seriously I was thinking about it. So I worked with him. I went to Seattle. I did a bunch of things. Went to Detroit, I carved a lot of Jagannath deities. I went to Seattle, went to Detroit, went to Buffalo, went to Boston. And then Prabhupada had me coming to India, where I built a large formal garden. And I went to Africa with Srila Prabhupada, to Kenya. So I got a chance for a great deal of in London, a great deal of personal association with Srila Prabhupada until 1976. And I tried not to miss out on hearing what he had to say. And I was completely and utterly taken by my being his disciple. That was my life and soul.
Jai.
So I don't know what else to say.
How wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu, for all your service.
Well, I wish I had, but someday I'll come and perform service.
And there's two other people as well, right? On the call?
Ramachandra, who's up? Who else is with us?
Vinayak Prabhu and Krishna. I wonder who Krishna is.
Well, let's find out who Krishna is. We know who Vinayak is. He's living in Japan, would you believe it? He's Indian,
Oh,
but he's living in Japan. He's into IT.
Krishna doesn't have a mic. I don't know.
Okay.
Is Krishna a male or female? Not sure. Is it? Oh, man.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Krishna just texted that he's using a desktop PC.
Yes.
Does that mean, but can we hear Krishna, or is he just going to be listening?
I guess he's gonna be just listening. That's fine. He can introduce himself later, so he can hear. No problem. Vinayak Prabhu, please introduce yourself. You were saying something, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And
Jai.
I came in touch with Srila Krishna consciousness in childhood, like when in Jaipur in India. I'm during summer holidays. One of my friend was going to a Hare Krishna center, learning chanting and those things. There used to be some kind of summer camp kind of program in which devotees used to teach Krishna consciousness. So my mother was always envious with other kids, thinking that my kid would lose out if other kids are doing something fantastic. So she was quite much like very much forward to ask me that what your friends are doing and try to do what they are doing so that you don't lose out in any field. So when I saw the chanting beats of my friend, then I was quite attracted with whatever these guys are doing. And yeah, soon I got in touch with some devotees, and then I was chanting like 16 rounds and following the principles. And in one of the programs, I got to know about Srila Prabhupada they were introducing. So at that time, I was not knowing that this is some guy who went to abroad and preached to the Westerners and these things. But they told one thing that this guy is coming from a disciplic succession directly from Ved Vyasa. So because in India, there are so many like these gurus and everything and scandals all. So when I heard this, I completely surrendered to Srila Prabhupada that, okay, at least this guy is not a cheater. He's the original one. So yeah, so after that, I started practicing and slowly, like in the middle phases, I reduced a little bit, like reduced chanting and those things. Then again, I read the books, came back to 16 rounds and these things. So it has been a good amount of like 11 years or so for me. I came to Japan to work as an engineer, and I'm trying to practice Krishna consciousness bit by bit. And Krishna is very merciful to give me this association of devotees online.
Jai.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And at one point, Mataji, Vaishnavi Mataji, we're going to be reading, we're creating position papers. And the thing to understand about what we're doing is we want, did you ever see a movie called The Princess Bride?
I think so. It was a long time ago with the kids. Yeah, I remember.
But Inigo Montoya, I think his name was, there was a guy with 6 fingers. He was trying to find him and kill him because he had killed Inigo's father. And I don't know, I don't know if I should be saying, but what happened is when he finally got the guy up against the wall with a knife, a dagger to his throat or sword to his throat, the guy was begging and pleading him, please, I'll give you anything. Just don't kill me. Just what do you want? I'll give you anything. And he said to him, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. And he stabbed him through the heart. So that's what our position is. We want Prabhupada back. And we're not going to settle for less. Does that make sense, or does it sound crazy?
No, that makes complete sense.
Well,
Absolutely.
hopefully you're a psychic, so I hope it makes complete sense. So the thing is, so here we are. We want to recreate. We are going to reestablish Iskcon on paper and in discussion. This is an Istagosti. Are you familiar with the term Istagosti?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so Istagosti means a circle of cowherd boys, and Prabhupada created that for us, his disciples, to sit down in a circle and discuss things that they wanted to understand about Krishna consciousness. This was back in 1965, 66, 67, 68, Istagosti, because he was being swamped with so many letters from these young disciples that were just joining that he would reply to them, but it was taking so much time. He said, why don't you discuss these matters? I will write letters, but you take that letter and discuss it in your Istagosti and go over it, and then we'll have some real progress. Because people got into the idea that they wanted the letter from Prabhupada themselves, so it was sort of like everybody wanted to know what he was going to say, but getting the letter from Prabhupada was a big deal too, of course. It
Hare
was just sort of like a thrill. Ah, is that Vrinda?
Well,
Hare Krishna, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna. You're looking good.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say Hare Krishna yet?
Bolo, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Vrinda is a very saintly person.
Who's
and she'll
Krishna's
make
brother?
She'll make very rapid spiritual advancements.
Balaram? All right. You want to tell
Vrinda,
Prabhupada
why
anything?
did you say hello to Vaishnavi? Vaishnavi, I don't know if you can she see the picture?
Yes. This is Vaishnavi. Vrinda, look, this is her.
Doesn't she look nice? She's a very intelligent, very spiritual person.
Hare
Vrinda?
Krishna, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna.
I do. What he's trying to say is sometimes I do. Do you know about fairies?
Do you know about
Yeah.
fairies? Yes or no?
So sometimes I know how to do fairy work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I work with children and we do fairy work together.
Oh, how wonderful.
Wow.
Wow.
So tell some Krishna pastimes. Can you say something about Krishna? Or Nishingadev? Who's your favorite?
Hare Krishna.
Nishingadev Krishna?
Ah.
It's not a good habit putting your hand in your mouth. So Nishingadev is who?
Vishnu and Krishna.
Vishnu and Krishna? Oh,
Like the same
Oh, yes.
Vishnu.
same
It's
Vishnu.
Krishna with 4 arms.
Vishnu is blue like Krishna.
Vishnu is blue like Krishna too?
Yeah.
Okay. And Balaram is what color? You remember? You don't remember? And Nishingadev is what? A human being or no?
A lion being and a human being.
Lion and a human being? Oh, wow. Very good. Okay, Prabhus, this is Rinda. So I just wanted to, this is my daughter. How many years old are you? 5 years old? All right.
Hi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Okay.
Vrinda. I have learned so much from you already. Thank you.
Well, no, Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare
All
Krishna.
All right, is this your bedtime? Okay.
Vaishnavi is the first
You said
time
hi. You
on
wanted
this
to say-
Zoom call. This is the first time she's been, so she's getting to know everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Hi.
All right. Prabhus, let's continue.
Now, yes, Brenda, from the way you're just speaking, I think I would be in a position to absolutely guarantee that our what we're doing is exactly matches your way of being. I would say so. I
Sure.
don't say that I might be wrong. I was just saying that's what my impression is. And so we're looking forward to your seeing what we're up to. In a while, after a while, we're going to be reading one of our position papers, and that will give a clear idea about what we're wanting. But what we really want is to go back to the beginning of the movement and realize that there were a bunch of crazy hippies that joined. They created their own culture in the Iskcon temple, which you've discovered after all these years. They created their own culture, and that culture they then began to think was Iskcon. Oh, of course, it was. In a sense, it was. We call Kanista, I don't know if you know these distinctions of Kanista, Madhyam, Uttamadhikari. Vaishnavi Prabhu, do you know Kanista?
Oh, yes, 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 very much. Yes, very much aware of
Okay,
that.
Kanista Adhikari, the Kanista corresponds to Brahman, Madhyam to Paramatma, and Uttama, for Uttama Adhikari corresponds to
Bhagavan.
I'm sorry, to
Bhagavan,
Krishna.
Krishna, yes.
Yeah, it's on the spiritual platform. Oh yeah, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. That's how Prabhupada put it. So Bhagavan means Uttama Adhikari. Whoever is an Uttama Adhikari realized or descended from the Krishna Loka, that person is qualified to be a guru. That's one statement. The other statement is, if someone is not descended from Krishna Loka, then they're not qualified to be a guru. And that's what you discovered and learned the hard way yourself.
Yes, definitely learned the hard way for sure. And if you like, I can tell you a story. I started telling it to Ramachandra Prabhu about my personal awakening, if we want to call it like that. Because I joined Iskcon and I was in Iskcon and I mean, I had a lot of relationship with many of the gurus. They really liked me. I guess they liked my sincerity. And so I was actually close to many of them. Many of them were writing me letters and things. But then at some point, when I was in Dallas, my oldest son was 21 months and he got cancer, a neuroblastoma.
Oh, no.
And he also, well, it's past now. He's 22 years old now, but that was like 21 years ago. 20 years ago, because he was almost 2 years old. So this altered my life, obviously, because then it brought Krishna consciousness to life for me, because it couldn't be just something that was intellectual. It had to become realized, because at least to the level of my realization, because I was going through so much, I had lost all faith in the material energy. So I didn't have a choice but taking shelter of Prabhupada's lotus feet. But I was still, at the time bewildered by the Iskcon and all of that. But at some point, after my son recovered, and maybe it was a while back, it was about maybe 12 years ago. And that's when my, whatever you want to call it, psychic, mystical gift, whatever that is, it manifested itself. All of a sudden I could sense and feel energies that are beyond this physical realm. And it happened literally just like poof. It was like from one moment to the next. And at first I really thought I was going crazy. I didn't know what was happening, because it's not something we talk about much, not in Iskcon anyway, for sure. But then the first thing that happened to me is I heard in my heart Srila Prabhupada's voice saying to me, especially about Radhanath. He said, he is not who he says he is. He is not my disciple. That's what he said to me. And he was telling me to get away from these people. And so that's how it started with me. It was really Srila Prabhupada just from within, just woke me up. And that's when I started to see all the discrepancies, like it started making sense. And then I decided, obviously I went through my spiritual crisis and I didn't know who to trust anymore. So I decided, well, I'm only going to hear from Srila Prabhupada and no one else. So then I started listening for about sometimes 4 to 5 hours a day, every single day. I was just associating only with Srila Prabhupada. And until I started imbibing his mood, and really my whole understanding and my realization of Krishna consciousness completely transformed at that point. And even like when I do sessions for devotees, Iskcon devotees, because they call me for sessions, healing sessions, because everybody's suffering now. And it's like when I start preaching to them, all I'm doing is I'm only preaching what I'm hearing from Srila Prabhupada in his lectures. And what and I'm telling you, every single one of them will say to me, I've never heard preaching like this before. And some of them have been in the movement for 10 years in Iskcon, and they never heard preaching like this. That means it's just the proof they're no longer preaching Srila Prabhupada's mood, not anymore. They're telling stories. They're, it's not Srila Prabhupada anymore. And then one time I was in Ireland, that was maybe 8 years ago. And it was on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day. And he came to me, appeared to me and said to me that how they say Srila Prabhupada sometimes, mentioned that Iskcon is my body, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared to me, like in a vision, and he said to me, the cancer in Srila Prabhupada's body is already metastasized. Because at that time I still thought we could save Iskcon. And I was trying to, wake people up. But he said the cancer is already metastasized. And he said, it's too late. He said, you must take his soul and preserve it. So at that point, I stopped trying to reform Iskcon, and I just focused only on, preaching to new people and doing the healing work and all of that. And I've been doing a lot of writing prayers to Srila Prabhupada, and just because of the state of the world, it's been heartbreaking for me, because with my healing work, it's like I'm feeling people's suffering more and more, and it's can get really unbearable, because the demons are in charge and they're making life so miserable for the majority of people. And everything from the human trafficking, just everything that's happening, it's so absolutely crazy. And so, in my little way, when the people do reach out, I do the healing work and help them to disconnect and detach from their identifying themselves with being a victim and with their past traumas, and then help them to come closer to God, and then eventually introduce them to Srila Prabhupada. Some of my clients have a whole Bhagavatam set. They started chanting, and some of them were already devotees of Jesus. And so, but they'll have Jesus on their altar, but they also have Srila Prabhupada. I said, you can accept Prabhupada as your uncle. Like Jesus is your father. Now you can accept Prabhupada as your uncle, because they have the same father. The only difference is that we still have, we have Srila Prabhupada's recorded voice, his lectures. We don't have that from Jesus. And so they understand that they don't have access to Jesus that way. So many of them start accepting Srila Prabhupada. So it's quite wonderful. It's a different kind of preaching, but it's quite wonderful.
That is incredible. And it's completely in harmony with what we are trying to do here. So just by your speaking, you've already added, Jesus said, my Father's house has many mansions. You just added several mansions to our own house here. So we thank you.
You're welcome, Prabhu.
It was very wonderful. Yes. So that's amazing. There's so many things we've been discussing. I cannot, just for the life, just feeling or understanding from your presence as much as from your words who you are, I cannot help you but think everything we could tell you, you'd find it delightful, interesting and delightful, at least interesting and probably delightful, because we're going beyond the material plane. Iskcon means circle of cowherd boys. And where does that take place? In Krishna Loka. And who sits there? The cowherd boys. So if we're in Iskcon, we're sitting there with the cowherd boys. But who else sits with the cowherd boys? Who would you say in Iskcon? Who sits with the cowherd boys and us in our Krishna Loka environment here of Iskcon? Right?
You're asking me?
Sure, I guess so. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh,
But who else?
well, it should
Those
be
cowherd
Srila
boys.
Prabhupada. Must be sure
Who would be
Prabhupada
there
and
besides?
Krishna.
Yes, Krishna would sit with the
Krishna.
cowherd boys. So when we have Iskcon, we can understand that Krishna is sitting in our circle.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what Prabhupada said. In one of his letters to the devotees in San Francisco, he wrote, Iskcon, exclamation point, dot, 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 then the perfection.
Yes.
So Prabhupada always gave us the truth undiluted, and then we turned it into whatever fit our American, European, whatever mentality. But it's time now to go back the other direction and just accept everything from Prabhupada as coming from Krishna, and that we're lucky to have that access from tapes, books, everything. We have access to Krishna through Prabhupada. And I don't know if you would disagree, but we are putting forward the idea that Prabhupada is the last Sampradaya Acharya for the golden age of Kali. From this point onward, it's just going to be Prabhupada. Because to become a successor to Prabhupada, you have to be able to add something that Prabhupada didn't give us. And I would like to know what that would be. I mean, he gave us millions of books. He gave us Iskcon. So what is Iskcon? It's Kanista Adhikari, right? And we can say, what is Kanista Adhikari? Well, you follow regulated principles. You chant Hare Krishna on your beads. You take prasadam. You make offerings to the deity. You worship the deity. Go on Sankirtan. All of these things that they don't do very much anymore. Then distribute Prabhupada's books. All of these things are there to be done in the Kanista Adhikari platform. And how do we know it's Kanista Adhikari platform? If it were higher than Kanista Adhikari platform, then you wouldn't have to have the four regulated principles. Like when you come to Madhyam Adhikari platform, the four regulated principles are gone. No more four regulated principles. Oh, why? You mean you can do those sinful things? Absolutely not. No, when you come to the Madhyam Adhikari platform, you don't follow the four regulated principles because you have no interest in breaking them. You don't need to have it. I will follow the four regulated principles. That's for a person coming out of hell, out of sinfulness, out of the hippie mentality, and coming and becoming a Kanista Adhikari, meaning at least you know Brahman means I know that I'm part and parcel of Krishna. Aham Brahmasmi is what the Kanista Adhikari says. Aham Brahmasmi means I am part and parcel of Krishna. So that's the level. Prabhupada compared it actually, if you're standing at a train station and the train is coming down the tracks at night, the first thing you see is the headlight of the train, big round light. Oh, that's God consciousness. That's Brahman. Brahman is what the Mayavadis say is God, and what we say Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. So simultaneously one and different God. We have the Jiva, part and parcel of God, not that we become God when the Brahman comes down the tracks at us. So then the next stage is Madhyam. You are standing on the tracks and you can look at the train as it stops and you see there are people on the train and they're sitting in the cars and they're talking to each other and they're doing things, but you're still standing on the train station. And then the last stage, Uttama Adhikari, which means pure devotee of the Lord, which none of our brothers have become Madhyam, not to speak of Uttama. When that occurs, then you can open the doors open and you can walk onto the train. This is a crude example, but it's Prabhupada's example that he gave. And I was in Saranagati in Canada, and I was at a lecture, and the lecturer was talking about the Thakur Bhaktivinoda's book, Jaiva Dharma. And in it, the lecturer was discussing Kanistha Madhyam Uttamadhikari. So because
Who was discussing this? Who was discussing it?
The lecturer.
Who was the
We're
lecturer?
getting there.
Oh, okay.
The lecturer was discussing. So I raised my hand. They said, yes, Narayana. He's an old conference of mine. He said, yes, Narayana Prabhu. And I said, Maharaj, is this to understand that you are now beginning the task of illuminating the difference between Kanistha, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikari, as discussed in the introduction to Jaiva Dharma by Bhaktivinoda Thakur? He went into a tizzy.
He was
He went
Gopal
off on
Krishna
a very,
Maharaj.
what?
He was Gopal Krishna Maharaj.
Yes. But this is her initiating guru, so I was leaving as a punchline. Anyhow, he went off into the distance on that and started discussing how these different things, it was interesting. It seemed to me, I couldn't understand what he was saying, but it seemed to be essentially a Mayavada approach to understanding Kanistha, Madhyam, Uttamadhikari. They're very straightforward. How can you not understand it? So he went through, and then when he did his whole scramble up, where he was confusing all of the three together and making it sound as though it's impossible to tell one from the other, then he looked out to the group of the congregation at Saranagati, probably 50 people, and he said, it will simply create envy if we start looking around the room. Who is Kanistha? Who is Madhyam? Who is Uttama? My eyes bulged out and nearly dropped onto the floor like marbles, or golf balls or something. I couldn't believe it. He is asking that we're going to have envy when the people in Saranagati are just barely Kanistha. Madhyam is very advanced, and Uttamadhikari is on the same level as Prabhupada. We're going to start getting envious, looking at each other. And I didn't say anything else, I didn't argue with him because, and all the members in the congregation looked at me like I had committed a great offense by suggesting we could discuss Kanistha Madhyam Uttamadhikari. I wasn't going to go there. I just thought maybe he would have that in his agenda. And turns out he most certainly didn't. So afterwards, we're out on the porch at where the painter's house, where we had a temple. I don't know if it was built yet when we were there. And I was standing there, and Gopal Krishna came up to me sort of shyly, and he looked at me funny and said, "You're not a Ritvik, are you?" I said, "Ritvik?" Because I asked about Kanistha Madhyam Uttamadhikari.
Wow.
He said, yeah, they like to talk about these things. So I didn't give him yes or no about Ritvik or not, you know what I mean? I obviously was totally mistaken about where he had been headed with that Jaiva Dharma quote. So you can see the Vaishnavi Prabhu, I didn't want to say who it was until the very end.
You know what's
Vinyak busted me, but I wanted to let you know because that was your guru.
Well, yeah, it was, but the point, it's kind of funny because when I was in Montreal, so that means it would have been between 1999 and wait, when was 99? No, 1990 and 1993. And one time he gave a lecture, and it was from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Srila Prabhupada in one of the purport says that we have within our movements demons that are dressed as devotees who have tilak. So I raised my hand and I asked him, oh, why did Srila Prabhupada put this in the purport that there's demons in the movement? He said, oh no, it's okay. We can't just walk around and think like, are you one of the demons? Are you one? So he gave that same answer back at that time too.
Oh, he said that some people with tilak on are demons?
No, the Prabhupada
I
said
didn't understand what you said.
in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada says that in our movement, there are demons that are dressed like Vaishnavas, have tilak on their noses and, wearing the dress of Vaishnava, but they're not Vaishnavas, they're demons. It's right in one of the purports.
Well, that was certainly proven to be true.
Well,
And
yes.
And the demons did sometimes superhuman service for Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. I had a realization one time about that. I
Yes.
was thinking about the churning of the milk ocean.
Ah,
And, in the churning of the milk ocean is so vast that just the demigods alone couldn't do it. The demons had to be involved. So Krishna tricked them to take part by, promising them this, the nectar and all of that. So they did motivated devotional service. And I thought, well, look at this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in every town and village. So that also is a huge task that, demons have to also be involved. So Srila Prabhupada tricked them, promising them to have, big temples and, getting positions and this and that so that they could actually get involved. You know what I mean? So
And they
it's
use
motivated
their
devotional
demoniac
service.
skills. Yes. There's like the Mayadanava demon also. He did so many great constructions for Dwarka.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a very wonderful observation on your part, Prabhu. I shudder. I mean, I'm getting, what do you call it, chirpulating. I'm quivering hearing you speak.
Yeah, there's one of this master healer. She calls them holy shivers.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
you've read the first canto you've read the part of the Srimad Bhagavatam where Narada Muni was a little son of a Shudra lady and they were taking care of the Bhaktivedantas.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, I don't know if you read it in Prabhupada's original book or in one that was edited.
No, in his original book.
You've read, and he described that these Bhaktivedantas were discussing Krishna's pastimes. Well, they were all completely self-realized. They were in Krishna's pastimes. So when they were sitting there as sadhus discussing something that they were involved with, Prabhupada described that they were chirpulating. Did you notice the word? If you run across the book again, check it out. Chirpulating means sympathetic vibrations. It's like if you have an instrument like a guitar and you tune it and you pluck the string across the room, a similarly tuned instrument will vibrate because the sympathetic vibration has gone through the air.
Wow.
I was writing classical music, or nouveau classical music. So I had a background in music. So chirpulating immediately it resonated with me completely.
Wow.
And that's because they all already knew all the pastimes. I mean, what's a pastime? Krishna steals butter and he gives it to the monkeys. I mean, any kid that's read the Krishna book knows that one. Oh, I know that one. Tell me something else. Well, they didn't. Krishna steals butter, gives it to the monkeys. The person speaking that statement was thinking in a certain way, according to a certain time, in a certain place, in a certain vibration, amongst certain people, under certain conditions. And all of them who knew that pastime backward and forward had never heard it before spoken like that, because it was from that person's realization and presence. And so they would vibrate like the instrument across the room they would vibrate in ecstasy because tirpulate, Tirpulate, I believe. Tirpulate, not tripulate, tirpulate, yes. Tirpulate. You may have a hard time finding it in a dictionary other than Oxford Dictionary. But in any event, that's what they were doing. So they spent months there tirpulating because every time one of them said something, oh, Krishna's tied up to a grinding mortar, the way he said it was different than they'd ever heard it before. Because Krishna's pastimes are not subject to time, never. You realize. I mean, when he steals, you have to say that doesn't make sense. In Krishna Loka, there is no time. So you might say, well, okay, here's Krishna. He's stealing butter. Dot, 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 dot. Then he finds the monkey. Dot, 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 dot. Then he gives it to the monkey. Dot, 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 dot. And the monkey runs away with it. Dot, 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 dot. So certainly there's time has passed. But that's not the way it really is. Did you know? When Krishna steals butter and gives it to the monkeys, he's always stealing butter and always giving it to the monkeys. It's not that there's time between stealing. Stealing is one thing, giving is another thing, but there's no time gap. It's part of the same pastime that has no time factor to it. Did you know that? It's fun. That's why they were interpolating, because they were talking about things that any 6-year-old kid in Iskcon can tell you. Oh yes, Krishna steals fire and gives it to the monkeys, but they don't interpolate. Why not? Because they were not in that rasa in such a way that they were shuddering in ecstasy, hearing that pastime for the first time ever, even though they knew it. When they spoke, they would speak it for the first time ever also. Fresh, ever fresh, I think Prabhupada says. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good. So that's what we're up to. We want to get the movement into the stage where interpolation is what happens when you're in a temple, not just blah, blah, blah. So the temples are created by Prabhupada, therefore they are transcendental. They are the Kanista Adhikari platform. Why? Because when you join an Iskcon temple and follow all the principles and do everything that Prabhupada said to do, you're protected from falling down as long as you're in that stage. So Iskcon has never gone beyond that first stage. You will not find anyone who is a Kanista Adhikari, who is a Madhyam Adhikari or an Uttam Adhikari. They can come, but it's a process. And Prabhupada described to me in great detail on a personal conversation one time in Bombay in 1974. He described exactly how you go from Kanista to Madhyam to Uttam Adhikari. And I never talked about it because I didn't think there was an audience that would not misunderstand it. So we're working with that now. It will come out in the course of time with our League for 10K. But, the League for 10,000 years for the golden age of Kali is League for 10K. So anyhow, I'm talking a lot, but I was simply responding in ecstatic, interpolating mood to the things you were saying. So I'm very impressed, very moved, and touched and inspired. Touched, moved, and inspired.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Did you understand what I was saying? Yes, of course.
Yes, I did. And I was reading in the Brahma Samhita, which is quite above, way over my head most of the time, but it was really interesting to read about where Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur is describing about, that you can enter through the mantras, like the the Gayatri mantra, and that there's different rasas, different leelas going on all simultaneously, and you basically plug into one of them, or like that. And so, of course, at this point, I'm at the place where, I was speaking with, I don't know if you know Prahlad Chandra Prabhu. He's the one who actually put me in touch with Ramachandra today. I've had some great meetings today by Prabhupada's grace. I get to meet all these all of you wonderful Vaishnavas. And, but anyway, I was telling him, I said, you know what, a prayer I've been praying for many years now is very simple. Just pray to Krishna, please let me be useful to Srila Prabhupada. And another prayer I have is, please don't let Srila Prabhupada's efforts go in vain. Please, you know, he's sacrificed so much, even though I'm personally a rascal nonsense, but somehow or other, like, please just let the golden age, you know, let it happen because of Prabhupada, because he came and sacrificed everything. We can't let Iskcon ruin everything. And so that's been my prayer for years.
We can't let Iskcon is Prabhupada's body. We can't let Iskcon be ruined by anybody.
Yes, that's the whole, yes, exactly. And so, that's the thing, like Prabhupada actually in one of the conversation, there's quite a few, but I can always send some of those conversation, but there was one in particular where he says that the movement can never be checked. And so we were joking. It said, even the GBC can't check this movement.
He said that.
No, I was joking. He said that this movement cannot be checked because it's Lord Chaitanya's movement. Therefore, it can never be checked. So I was joking that even the GBC can't check this movement.
Well, you are aware about the GBC, right?
Of course. Yes, very much.
How did they become GBC?
I mean, Prabhupada is the one who started GBC, but he did say actually that this was what did he call it? It was which words did he use? An experiment. He was making an experiment, you know. One time I remember reading that. Srila Prabhupada said he was making an experiment.
It could be. But did you ever hear of a document called the Direction of Management?
Yes, the DOM. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. In the DOM, Prabhupada says the GBC, he appointed 12. And then of those 12, after 3 years, they have elections from the temple presidents. And then they have 12 more, or some of them could be reelected.
You know, there's one thing. Oh, I'm so sorry you were saying. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
There, you know about the objectives of Iskcon. Everybody here knows about those, right? That when Prabhupada was incorporating Iskcon, he wrote these objectives, right?
The purposes of Iskcon, yes.
Yeah. So the purposes of Iskcon. So do you know when he actually first wrote them? Do any of you know which year it was since he actually
He incorporated Iskcon in 1966.
Yes, but those particular these purposes.
That was there when Prabhupada was talking about the league for 10K. I think when he was starting another movement in India, right?
No, not the League for 10K. His was from the League of Devotees.
Oh, sorry, League of 10K, League of Devotees. Sorry, yes.
No, that's totally fine. You're actually very, very close, because let's see if I have them. 7 objectives. I have them. I kept it. Let's see here.
Prabhupada was talking about this before 1966. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, those like to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society in large, and to educate all people, right? And the techniques of spiritual life, those ones. So
yes.
Well, I went over to my friend Janava, Devidasi Prabhupada disciple. Yes,
Janava in Florida. In Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a very dear friend. I met her the first day she joined the Sankirtan in Seattle in 1968.
Yes, and exactly. Yes.
So go ahead.
So it was really ecstatic. she sent me, she actually, trying to find it. Anyway, I'll find it later. But the thing is, I went over her house and she said, Vaishnavi, I have something to show you. And, you know, she's an archivist. She's got all these things. I mean, like all these incredible archives all over her house, her whole house. I mean, it's like entering into Bhajan Kutir. Srila Prabhupada lives in her house. She has a really beautiful DD of Srila Prabhupada right in her main room. She has all of his books. She has all these files. I mean, it's incredible being in her home. And so she pulls this out and she shows me Srila Prabhupada started writing these back in, I think it was in 1945, if I'm not mistaken. He wrote them, basically, he wrote them about 4 different times. He wrote them when he was in Vrindavan, before the League of Devotees. That's when he wrote them.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yet nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. She's like the only
Oh, I
one who
don't know
knows that.
that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Nobody knows that. I'm like, Janava, you gotta let people know that. You have no idea what you're sitting on this mind, you know. And she, you know, she didn't understand it when I told her that. But the point is, when you understand that Srila Prabhupada wrote this before he started anything, I mean, and they haven't changed much. She has the original ones from 1945. Then he wrote them again, I think in 1956. Then he wrote them again when he incorporated the League of Devotees, and then wrote them again when he incorporated Iskcon. And there's really a tiny little slight change, which is mostly when he was in India, he wrote India. When he was in America, then he wrote different. But you should see the one when he was getting ready to the third one, when he was ready to go to America. You can see he wrote headquarters, and then he put Los Angeles, and he put New York. I think he put even England there, like London, and he scratched up London and LA and kept New York. So when I read this, immediately I understood that these objectives came directly from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Prabhupada. Like, this is your, you know, blueprint. This is how you will be spreading my movement. And Srila Prabhupada has never deviated from those. So my question to devotees is, like, if Srila Prabhupada never deviated, why should you?
Exactly.
And so and then
Well,
and then
they're up to their necks in swamp. You know, we can't expect anything of the Iskcon devotees unless.
No, that's why we have to do it. We have to do it.
And we're doing it. Ramachandra.
Yeah.
Okay. Just remember to leave enough time, maybe in 15 minutes or so, to read that paper. I think that Vaishnavi will find it interesting.
Okay, got it.
Can you do that? I didn't know she was going to be on, but now that I know she's on, now I know why I wanted you to read that paper.
Now you know, yes.
Okay, so yes, I'm amazed. But did you know that Janava has Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book that he had formerly McGill University?
Yes,
you know.
yes, she has it. Absolutely.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. We should get in contact with her.
It's very famous for being in McGill University. And years ago, 15, 20 years ago, she told me that she had it. You know, when I first met Janava, she wasn't initiated. I was at her initiation in Seattle. She was initiated almost immediately after moving into the temple.
Oh,
and
yes.
She had known a senior devotee that later on became a very big shot Pujari in Los Angeles. And we were going down the sidewalk side by side, chanting, Nagar Sankirtan, Prabhupada's melodies only, of course. And as we were chanting and we were walking down this sidewalk, I was standing next to this very severe looking young lady. And I looked at her and I said, my name is Nar Narayan. I just got initiated a few weeks before. My name is Nar Narayan. And may I know who your name is? And she looked at me severely and said in a very straight and narrow voice, my name, and this is so funny because of the way she said it, my name is Joy. She said in a most unjoyful sort of way, my name is Joy, Joy Fulcher. And she looked at me like I was not allowed off the hook yet. Joyful, sure, she said. I'd never met anyone. She sounded more like maybe Hester Prynne from Nathaniel Hawthorne's book about in the East Coast, Puritan. She sounded so puritanical. My name is Joy Fulcher. Joyful, sure. She stared at me to make sure the dagger went all the way through my mind. So anyhow, needless to say, I took an instant liking to her, and I have a very wonderful photograph, black and white photograph of her being initiated
Oh, Jai.
in Seattle. But anyhow, we're spending time.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
hear this paper, whatever. Not sure what the paper is, but I'd love to hear it.
Well, let's see. I hope it's what I think it is. Ramachandra, are you ready? Ramachandra Prabhu? He's
One
kind of
second, let me
phone.
try to do it on the phone because I'm usually on the computer, but I didn't bring my computer from home today.
Ouch.
So I'm trying to see if I can do it on my phone. So please continue the conversation once I figure out how to do it, or if it can be done,
Sure. Well,
we'll do it.
it's 9:16. We don't want to run out of time. So anyhow,
Yeah. So
we're
please
very
continue
happy.
the Istagoshti.
Vaishnavi, we're very, very happy to have you here. And from the way you sound, I would consider that I would look at you as valuable as a complete set of Prabhupada's unedited books.
You
No,
would
sorry,
what?
I consider you to be as valuable as a complete set of Prabhupada's unedited books.
Wow. Well, that's very generous of you.
Well,
Because
I'm a person, I'm sort of what you call it, autistic, dyslexic, and a whole bunch of other things, borderline Asperger sort of person. And because of that, I listen very precisely to things. And when you speak very precisely. I also have a great affinity for people that are operating in Krishna consciousness and on the psychic plane as well. And the way you obtained your relationships with the psychic plane is just absolutely perfect. It wasn't shocking. It wasn't anything. It was perfect. It was just elegantly perfect.
thank you,
So,
Prabhu. I'm very
yeah.
honored.
Now you mentioned that you met a whole bunch of other gurus. What other and senior godbrothers? If you don't mind telling me who some of those were, because I'm old enough to be the senior godbrother of all of them.
Well, I'm very close friend with Rupanuga Prabhu.
Rupanuga.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the person that showed me the direction of management in New Vrindavan in 1971.
Yes.
He said
Yeah,
this is a secret document. When I read it, I said, why secret? It's supposed to be electing, the temple president's electing GBC. Why is it secret? Anyhow, keep going, Rupanuga. Yes.
But at that time, I was in Montreal, so it was Gopal Krishna Maharaj and Niranjan Swami. Also, I had Rohini Sutta Prabhu that sent one of his girl from Eastern Europe to me in Vancouver to train on book distribution. Then later on, Oh yeah, there was also Jagadish.
Oh,
And
Jagadish,
then
yes.
yeah, and of course, because I was in Canada.
I created the Detroit Temple for Bhagavan, and Jagadish was a member there. And that was exactly when he married Lakshmi Moni.
Oh my
This was
gosh.
after Rupanuga gave a class at Buffalo University, and half the
Yes.
class came and joined Iskcon largely in Detroit on
Yeah.
74th
Yeah,
Street.
and then yeah, of course back to Mark Swami because he's in Toronto. Who else?
Bhakti Bard left, didn't he?
He what?
Didn't he leave, or is he still there?
He's still there.
Okay.
He walks a lot, but he's
Okay.
still there. And then, you know, then when I was in Dallas, I actually met Tamal,
Ouch.
and well, you know, he was different at the time. He actually was more mellow, believe it or not. After his cancer, somehow it mellowed him out. Interestingly
Cancer? I didn't know
enough,
he had cancer.
yeah, he did get cancer at some point. He got,
Where,
and
where,
that changed
where-
him, but he didn't
where
die
did he
from
get
it.
the cancer?
I don't remember because
Okay.
I wasn't there when he had the cancer. I basically met him before he got killed. So
Oh,
with the
really?
car accident, you know. But you know, interestingly enough, he was the only one who was actually writing to me while my son had cancer. He was the only
that's
one that was
interesting.
he was the only one who was taking the time to write to me in a very nice way. He was very supportive, where Gopal Krishna wasn't giving me the time of day. And you know, and I was really suffering at the time. I mean, it was my only child.
Very
So that
good.
was very, very interesting, you know. And then later on, Radhanath and
No,
Keshava
Radhanath,
Keshava
I,
Bharati, and the
by the
other
way,
one.
1 second, can I say, Tamal is my Vartna Pradarshya Guru. He's the person that convinced me to become a devotee in San
Oh,
Francisco
really?
in 1968.
Yeah. I mean,
And he and I collaborated very closely for years.
You know, the thing I realized, this is another realization I had just from being in that subtle plane, is that Srila Prabhupada loved every one of them, whether they became again demonic or not, or whatever, that Srila Prabhupada's love is unconditional. So my personal understanding is that, you know, once Krishna takes them out, they get purified in hell for a little while, and then they're allowed to come back again just because Prabhupada loves them so much. That's the only thing I can
agree
think
with
of.
you 100%. I even wrote an essay called Bhavananda in Hell.
Oh gosh, I can't wait for him to be there. Sorry. Oh, I can't stand that. Oh my gosh, that one is too much. Oh God.
Unfortunately, 3 people I influenced very strongly: Bhagavan, Bhavananda, and Jayatirtha. After that, I quit.
You better quit after that. Oh, Krishna.
I did.
Oh my God. Krishna
I
Chaitanya.
mean, when anybody came to me because they wanted my insights, and I could tell what they were, I would say, "Oh, thank you for coming. I'm glad you came to ask me these intriguing, intimate, or the very esoteric questions, psychic questions. Thank you for coming. Now go away."
You know, I was telling Ramachandra Prabhu the story of my son, Naratam, the one who had cancer. Is it okay, Ramachandra Prabhu, if I tell them? Do you think they would
Sure.
enjoy the
Tell
story?
them. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you know, I don't think my son was a bad one, but he certainly knew Srila Prabhupada for sure, because he's the one who had cancer. And when
Your
he was
son,
in
could
my
I
son,
ask you, where did he have the cancer?
his cancer was in his pelvis, and it's called a neuroblastoma. So basically, the way the doctors are describing it is that it's a cancer of primitive nerve cells that didn't make it to the brain. So that's why it's neuroblastoma, but it's not in the brain because it didn't make it to the brain. So his was in his pelvis. But then his immune system started attacking the tumor, thinking it was the his immune system started attacking his brain, thinking it was the tumor. That's how they explained it to me. And that's a rare disorder called abscoclonus myclonus syndrome, which is an autoimmune disorder. So he couldn't walk or talk or anything. And that all happened. And that's how we found the cancer, because
How old
I had
was
to
he?
take a 21 month.
Oh, as a baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, he was not even 2 yet. So what I was explaining to Ramachandra Prabhu earlier, because I was on the phone with him first, is that so before my son had the cancer, he was only like 1.5 years old. When people used to come to my house, and I never told him to do that, I never trained him to do that. That was spontaneous. People would come like as guests at my house. As soon as they would arrive, he would go on the altar and he would take Prabhupada's picture off the altar, and he would go in front of the people and he would put his little finger and he would say, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. And then he would kiss his picture over and over again. He didn't do
Oh.
that with anything else. He wouldn't take that my
So
parents' picture or anything. It was Prabhupada.
He was probably an Iskcon devotee.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Either this or
Initiated by
Prabhupada's.
Prabhupada.
Yes, for sure.
Well,
Because
you could do a past life regression and find out easily, I'm sure.
well, I
But anyhow,
could, but
so how old is your son Narottam now?
he's 22.
And my son Narottam is like in his late 40s.
Oh, wow. Okay. He's also Narottam. How cool.
Yes.
Wonderful. So what happened is while he had the cancer, he couldn't walk,
Yes.
he couldn't talk. I didn't know if he was going to survive. And then I had a dream one night. That was the first time I've ever had a dream of Srila Prabhupada. And it was very like one of those lucid dreams, very, very vivid. And I was in this big temple room filled with devotees, packed all the way. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasan and he was singing Jai Radha Madhava with his kartals. And I was all the way in the back with my son in my arms. In my dreams, he was walking and talking. And so he was, you know how they do that, they push you and they want to get down on the ground. So I put him down and he immediately took off towards Srila Prabhupada. And so I was mortified because I'm thinking I can't jump over people because they're all sitting down, and they're packed. So I was like, I can't step over people.
Amazing.
So I had to just watch, and Prabhupada's eyes were closed. And as my son got closer to him, Prabhupada stopped chanting and he put down his kartals and he opened his arms. And my son jumped in his arms and they both hugged for a long time. And then once that happened, after a while, Srila Prabhupada opened his eyes and he looked straight at me all the way in the back. And he kind of shook his head and he said, he'll be all right. Just like that.
Wow.
And see, my son actually, the doctors used to call him a miracle boy. They never thought, they told me he would never walk or talk again. He's walking and talking. Many of them said he wouldn't survive. He almost died like 5 times or more in his life. I mean, that kid has been protected by Lord Nishingadev and Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, amazing. What a tough story. And you told it in such a way that I could see like a photograph or like a movie from what you were describing.
Is that incredible? Like, I mean, you could see. And then the other thing that my son did that I knew it was Prabhupada's disciple for sure, is that when he was older, when he was 4, because I told him I was reading the whole Bhagavatam while I was pregnant with him. And then I read the Bhagavatam again to him when he was, it was better after the cancer. And we got to the place where the baby is praying in the womb. Now, my son has autism too. He has high functioning autism as well. And Asperger's, yeah. So, he's very mystical too. So I was reading that part and he said, yes. And he said he remembered being in the womb. And I said, so what was your prayer? And he turned over and he was only 4. So he wasn't faking anything. And he became sober and he said, I want to see Prabhupada. That was his prayer in the
In the
womb.
womb.
I want to see Prabhupada. Yeah. This is amazing, you know. So that's when I realized, you know, like Krishna consciousness it's here, it's all around us. That we are living Krishna consciousness, you know. We're just not aware of it to the full extent. But I mean, you know, devotees are passing away and they're taking birth again, you know.
Yes.
And so there's hope. There's hope. There's always
Oh,
some hope
beyond hope.
somehow.
There's certitude. Hope is
Yes.
not, we can say hope by being humble, but there's certitude. There's recent quote that I read that someone said to Prabhupada how he was suffering. I think it was in 76 or something when he was really suffering. And somebody said that he was suffering. And he said, you're suffering, but you're suffering and you're taking on more disciples. And that is going to add to your suffering. And Prabhupada said, I don't remember the exact words, but this is the essence. He said, I came here to suffer for them, and I will
Yes.
continue to suffer for them after I am gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what we're doing, is we're ripping away the shroud that is such an illusion of Iskcon. And for me, it's difficult because I was sort of like on the odds with Iskcon all these years. Now I'm not on the odds of Iskcon. I'm at odds with the people that think that they're Iskcon and they're not. So now it's time for Iskcon to become reborn out of the direction of management, out of everything. If the direction of management is, you realize that when there's lots of people coming to Krishna consciousness, when they're coming to Krishna consciousness, I'm not talking about people like me who are older or people like yourself even that have been through it all. I'm talking about people that are 20, 30, 15 to 35, 40 years old that want to become devotees. They go in and they look around themselves and say, this is where I want to be, but there's a bad smell in the air. I wonder what that is. And that's because of the bogus stuff going on. It's not a literally bad smell, but I mean, they sense there's something wrong. And the astral bad smell. And so they say, I don't know if I want to do that. We want to be here with these League for 10K, creating an atmosphere where they will understand what Iskcon is. And as we develop literature, as we develop stuff, and we can do everything online, in fact, do everything like that, I predict, and my predictions are usually good ones, I predict that people will start leaving or not joining the Iskcon temples, just like Ramachandra didn't. He came to join, they all wanted him to join, he didn't want to join. So then they exiled him, basically. Why? Because it wasn't what he was looking for. When we started the League for 10K, that was what he was looking for. So that's what I'm saying. So Ramachandra and all of them, and you can be a leader, you already know everything more than I do. So that's what is wonderful. But the thing is that when you get that, there will be people that want to take initiation or in the temple and thinking of taking initiation, or even people that have already taken their initiation. And they're saying, now what? Where we're going from here? And there's nowhere to go from there. You're like a person that the guru is like a person that has a flock of chickens, and you're his flock, and he keeps you in line until you want to eat one of them, I guess. But the thing is that that's what they're doing, and nobody wants that. They want Prabhupada. So we're going to present Prabhupada as he is, and Prabhupada as he is not Prabhupada. It's Krishna through Prabhupada, via Prabhupada. Prabhupada is not an ordinary being, not even an extraordinary being. Prabhupada is a person that Krishna used to create Iskcon, used to create the direction of management, used to express the Hare Krishna mantra in such a way that Lord Chaitanya wants it spread all over the world. Prabhupada, in a very few years, with the help of idiots like me, he managed to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, all by himself and his followers. So even if they're not chanting Prabhupada's melodies, which is a sin, even if they're not playing Prabhupada's Mridanga beats, which is a sin, even if they're not dancing the Swami step, which is insane not to dance. There's a reason, we'll go into it on another occasion. All of these things that they're not doing, but the Hare Krishna mantra, chanted well or chanted badly, is coming into the ears, and it must come into the consciousness of not just human beings, but every type of living being that there is. In fact, when I chant japa, there's a bunch of germs in my intestines that are becoming enlightened of this. They hear. Yeah,
Jai.
it is true like that. Well, it's true. But the thing is that the Hare Krishna mantra, Lord Chaitanya said, and Prabhupada said, I only read it recently, or understood it recently, I guess. If you hear the Hare Krishna mantra once, it means that you're going to go back to Godhead. Now when? Oh, when I die, I'm going to die and go to heaven like a Christian. No, no, no. Christians don't even go to heaven. Or they do go to heaven. They don't go to Krishna Loka. They go to Swarga Loka, which is in the material universe. Nice planet, but I wouldn't want to stay there forever. Can't stay there forever. When the universe is destroyed, they have to leave. So, Mohit, or both. So.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hari Bol, Jai, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, so we have a person that I will hope that we can all offer our humble respects to. This is a person named Vaishnavi, who has an extraordinary understanding of Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Hari Bol.
Jai. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Nice to meet you. Hare Krishna.
Same here, Hari Bol, same here, yeah.
And where are you
So
from,
now-
Prabhu?
I'm been born, brought up in India, yeah. I'm right now in India. I've been
Which
working
part?
all Jaipur, Rajasthan.
Oh, beautiful. Wonderful.
Govinda Dev, the deity
Hari
of
Bol,
Rupa
yeah.
Goswami's deity.
All
by the way,
Krishna's mercy.
Vaishnavi,
Yeah.
where are you?
I'm in Gainesville,
Oh, really?
Florida.
Florida. Look at you. You got a good governor.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is a difficult time because many of the devotees, like, we want to get together, get a community together, but then with these crazy mandates, I mean, there's a way to get around them, but you have to keep fighting, but like we have a really nice devotee in Canada and he just can't get out unless
Well-
he gets this jab.
Do you realize that on this Zoom call, Ramachandra, I'm in Los Angeles, Ramachandra is in Sacramento, the capital of California. Mohit is in Jaipur, my favorite city in India.
Jai.
And
Oh, I see there's a
And-
new person, Mark. I didn't
Yes.
see before.
Hare
And
Krishna
we
Maha
have-
Prabhu, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hari
Well,
Bol.
this is-
Jai.
Hare Bol. I'm sorry,
This
I'm
is-
driving.
Oh.
this is Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
Thank you. Change my name, Ramachandra. Change my name.
All right, on it.
Thank you. Hare Bol.
Haribol Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu?
Yes.
Yeah, Mahaprabhu.
Jai.
Jai.
So we say Mahaprabhu Prabhu. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Well, you could always say Prabhu Mahaprabhu Prabhu.
Yeah. And where are you from, Prabhu?
I'm living in Los Angeles.
Wow, so
If you
you're
can call
all
that
in it.
living.
How do you all like able to, I mean, is there any protest going on over there in California, or is everybody just totally mind controlled over there?
I think everybody's
Well,
doing their own thing.
Our governor of California is, I think his name is Gavin Newsance. Is that it? Gavin Newsance?
Nuisance,
Oh, no.
that's correct.
Nuisance.
Nuisance. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Mahaprabhu's transcendental humor. Hari Bol.
They say all sorts of horrible things, and there's a lot of attacks on stores, these snatch and grab things, which are simply an outreach of the of Black Lives Matter like nobody else matters. And they come there and they feel we're entitled. We've been suppressed, so we're entitled to break open rich stores and take all the goods out. They're doing that, but it's not everywhere. Los Angeles is huge.
Hmm.
So anyhow, let's get back on track. Now, Ramachandra, do you have a way of broadcasting that, or we don't?
No, I tried doing it. It's like turning the phone. Yeah, it's not going to work on the phone, Narayan Prabhu. We'll have to do it tomorrow.
And we can't do it from your dad's computer?
They don't have Zoom, so it's by the time it takes me to load it up,
Yeah.
get it,
Okay.
it'll be tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow.
So Vaishnavi Prabhu, so you're in Gainesville, not Alachua, right?
No, I'm not in Alachua. I'm in Gainesville.
And what takes you to Gainesville?
I just, I don't know. I didn't want to be, just Gainesville is better for me at this point in time. The Alachua Temple has gone crazy. It's just worse than ever. I mean, they're completely
In
buying it. No, in
Gainesville?
Alachua. Well, I mean, both places, but in Alachua, it's pretty bad. Mukhya is the temple president there, and she's completely bought into everything, I mean, obviously she's banning anybody who wants to preach about the original books. Kicking people. I mean, if you bring that up, she'll kick you out. And then she's basically coercing all the devotees to take the jab and all of that. And of course, they also offer, to Krishna first, bypassing Srila Prabhupada. Anyway, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's just a mess.
Is she a Prabhupada disciple?
Well, in name, yes.
Well, I missed her name.
No, Mukhya. She did take initiation from Srila Prabhupada.
Moksha?
Mukhya, no, she's not married now. I think she had a restaurant at some point in somewhere in like Oregon, in Eugene, Oregon.
Could be.
And then she moved here, and then because she's a businesswoman, they elected her as a temple president. But she's really more of a businesswoman than anything. But yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable that, on one hand, they preach we're not the body. The second minute, they're scared of this, unseen enemy, some virus, and it's just ridiculous.
Same is
You
happening in
mean
India.
the supreme personality of COVID?
I know, it's unbelievable.
That's
It's just
I go to
crazy.
Los Angeles, I go to New Dwarka, nobody's there anymore. Everybody runs around with masks on, looking terrified at each other. I said, I thought we understand we're not this body. We're going to die. The body's going to die anyhow. Why are you so worried? It doesn't matter if it dies tomorrow or dies next week. It's going to die.
I mean, I thought about this and I thought, well, Krishna saved me because I've been through this already. Before that, for me, there was really nothing major about this. Like my son had cancer at 2 years old,
Yeah.
and it's like, he nearly died so many times. My other son almost died of, asthma, and, I nearly died in India, almost got a leg amputated. So, I mean, I'm kind of over, it's like, okay, we all die eventually, but somehow or other, Krishna's been protecting us.
Well,
so I'm not going to be
Because
scared of a virus.
The virus should be scared of me. Why should I be scared of the virus? Go away. Hare Krishna. Those went the virus out the door. Bleeding from the heart. But anyhow, yes, I agree with you 100,000%. So that's interesting. So you're the father of your son?
Oh, you mean my husband? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm married. I've been married for 25 years. My husband's name is Rohini. I'm still married. His name is Rohini
Wonderful.
Kumar. Yes, I know it's rare these days. So yeah, his name is Rohini Kumar Das.
Not the original Rohini Kumar.
No, 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 no. No, he joined in 1985 in
Okay.
Ireland.
He's Irish.
Actually, no, he went on a school trip when he was in college to study the Irish poets, and then he met the devotees, and then he stayed.
The Irish poets. What's his favorite?
I think it was William Butler Yeats, I think, but you know,
William
I
Butler
don't
Yeats?
know. I don't know all of them, to be honest. I haven't asked him which one is his favorite. I just remember
That's
that
okay.
one. But
No,
he
there's
met the
qu-
devotees there and decided to join. So he joined in 85.
That's wonderful. Well, I congratulate you. And he works. He has a job, or what do you guys do?
Yeah, he actually was a teacher for many, many, many years. And he just quit last year because of it was just getting harder and harder. Because basically now with, you know, the way things are, with especially, you know, the liberals at the moment. I mean, not that I'm politically inclined, but the point is that everything goes except for going against their sense gratification agenda, basically. So you
Right.
can't say anything. You
Oh,
can't.
the
So
critical race theory and all that
everything,
reconstruction,
everything,
genders.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything, everything. It's crazy. So he can't mention anything. So basically, it's like trying to teach with a muzzle over your mouth and your
Oh yeah, no.
hands
He could
tied up.
actually
So
he could get fired, even though
yeah,
DeSantis is probably going to protect and win in the end. Nonetheless, he hasn't won completely yet. Oh no, I'm
yeah.
not political either. I believe there's two basic parties, right? The Republicans and the Democrats.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, they're all puppets. But the point is, anyway, it was too much for him, so he stopped. So now he started a new business. So he's selling gemstones. So he's really just
Oh, that's
starting.
good. That's
Yeah.
auspicious.
Oh, they're
And
very nice.
do you work as well?
Well, I told you I do this intuitive energy healing.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yes. So that's Srila Prabhupada's mercy on me, because, you know, I'm the kind of person who could never have a 9 to 5 job. I would go crazy. I have to have some sort of purpose. So now that everyone is suffering, I mean, I get about, you know, 3 to 4 clients a day, and I get almost every day I have a new client. People, it's really word of mouth. People just recommend me.
That's the best way, because if you hang out a shingle, then people expect something very mechanical from you. But if it's word of mouth, it's what people experienced with you, and they say, I have some issues, I have some questions, I have some insights, I have some fears. I want to know what this is about, and then you can actually make them the pure devotees eventually.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing is I can also, you know, help myself, and I can also help devotees, because, you know, the whole principle, when devotees ask me what I do with the healing work, it's really on the principle of Sarvopadi Vinir Muktam, that, you know, we give up our designation. So somehow or other, Krishna gave me that ability that I can move energies easily. So so the thing is, all I need is for the person to be convinced that they don't need this anymore, and they stop identifying with it. And when that happens, I can move it out. And then it's like, it's quite amazing. And to just help people to understand, like, you know, for example, I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say you're resenting somebody like abused you, and, you know, you're resentful. So first of all, you have to accept. Now, it doesn't mean you have to accept the abuse. You just accept that the abuse happened, and that the person who did the abuse, that was their choice, and that you have no control over their behavior. So once you get there, then you can let go. Because what happens is, we live in a society, in a Western society, where people don't have an understanding, at least not from birth and not taught by their parents, about karma and reincarnation. So what happens is they go through their karma and then they don't let it go. They hold on to it. They hold on to the hurt. And then it causes more mental anguish. So I can't change people's karma, obviously, but once they've already gone through it, I can help them to let go of it. So that's what I've been doing, basically. So I feel like I'm doing.
We feel healed already.
I don't know about that.
Hare
But I
Krishna.
mean,
No, the way you speak, it's perfect. I'm not joking. I am joking. I'm not joking. I never joke. I always joke. It's sublime. Thank you for that. You've given amazing insights. I've never really met a devotee who had a completely clear understanding of Krishna consciousness and a completely clear understanding of the psychic arena as you do. So
well,
this is so completely.
I think it's because it's a very dangerous place to be. I think I was telling you, Ramachandra Prabhu, I can't remember what I was telling you or Prahlad Chandra, but I was explaining I had some friends, devotee friends, who also had mystical abilities, but then they somehow or other got into past lives and started, like, oh, I used to be this one and that life. And at one point they kept coming up with, oh, I was this famous person and that famous person. And it just got more and more wild. And at one point, I just had to cut it off with them because it just was getting too much. And then they became sahajias and all that, because they accepted the mind as something spiritual. And so I was explaining to them that, yeah, you can tune in to the heart and you can feel the energy body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. But the point is, because we're conditioned souls, that, we don't have a clear understanding. So when that happened to them and they went off completely, and they think that they're purely Prabhupada, that's the problem. But anyway, everyone is using Prabhupada for something, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people use Srila Prabhupada for their own, agenda. But at that point, I realized how dangerous the psychic realm is, because it's the realm of the mind. It creates anything. It can create the imagination that you're in Krishna Loka with the gopis, it could create anything. So it's a very dangerous place to be.
Well, no, that's the basis of the Sahaja. That's the basis of the Babajis. That's the basis of the Radhakund.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and they're very advanced at what they're doing. It's the basis of Radhanath also. But yes, I agree with you 100,000%. Before I was a devotee, years before I was a devotee, I used to be able to take people out of extremely paranoid experiences by seeing them, going there, getting them, bringing them out. I never began to identify with anything, nor did I make myself feel that I was anybody in particular. I just wanted this person to be okay. So if they're in a catatonic state, then find out where they are and ask them, and it's a lot of time to start tiptoeing towards the doorway. You can come out in the light. Come on, let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, well, at that point, I realized something, that, when you think you're having like a spiritual realization or something like that, I found, like, usually these kinds of things, if it's on the mental platform, which people think mental platform is just intellectual. It's not intellectual, it's feeling, because they think once I feel it, it's real. No, I'm sorry. Thinking, feeling, willing is part of the mind. So feeling is in the mind too. So, but they forget that. And so the thing is, to understand the differences, usually if you have some so-called like shadow spiritual experience on the mind platform, then it's like you become intoxicated. It's intoxicating. Whereas if it's actually spiritual from where we are, unless you're in Mahabhav, and I mean, I'm definitely
Exactly.
not there, then it's very grounding. It's actually grounding, because Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness means seeing things as they are. That's extremely grounding. So I made up my mind. I made up my mind that I'm going to use this psychic thing for healing purposes and for dealing with, you know, sometimes I have to deal with demons on the subtle realm because they don't like me, because they don't like the fact that I help people in that way. So I get to deal with them too, but that's okay. You know, they're all souls as well. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, I only take it from Srila Prabhupada, and I have to hear it or I have to see it. Otherwise, I don't believe it. So I may, because he is on a spiritual platform. You know, I have a little bit of abilities for, but you know, one time I heard this lecture because I was wondering about whether I was off or not. And in this lecture, Prabhupada said, and it was in passing, because I pray all the time to Srila Prabhupada, and then he will answer me either through a lecture or somebody will send me a quote, or he always answers me, always. It's really wonderful. So this time I was asking him about whether I was in Maya doing this thing, you know, and then this lecture, he said that the devotees don't go looking for mystic abilities and mystic powers, but if they need it for service, then Krishna just gives it to them. So when he said that, I realized I didn't ask for this. I didn't go train for this. This awakened in me. So this means Krishna gave it to me. You know what I mean? So this way I realized, okay, this is part of my service. And then when I had my chart done and I looked at my Vedic astrology, I see all these planets, and it all has to do with the subconscious and the mystic. And I thought, okay, well, I guess that's how I'm supposed to be doing my devotional service. It's part of,
you were
place.
born to heal. You were born to be a healer, and you were born. I've known healers who take on the karma of the people they heal, then they become an agony afterwards because they've taken on somebody's bad karma. Similar, the gurus, you realize in Iskcon, they take on the karma of the people they initiate, and they don't have any way of getting rid of it because they're not pure devotees. Prabhupada would take on the karma and transfer it out into it would be burned up in the sacred fire. These guys have a sacred fire, but they can't do that. They don't have the capacity. And so they take on the karma. When they die, oh, my Guru Maharaj is dead. Then you die, oh, I'm going to be with my Guru Maharaj. Would you really want to be? Do you want to be with Kirtanananda in hell? I mean, why would you want to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's precarious situation for sure.
Yeah. So I'm very much in accord with what you're saying. You know, there's water, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence. And ego. And each one of those is a material element. Each of those elements is 10 times thicker than the last. So earth is the smallest, then water is bigger, earth, water, fire is bigger than that. Ether is it's the way we speak. It's that we speak through the ether. We don't realize it, but that's what we're doing. Ether, mind, and that's where you're dealing where your understanding settled, is working with the mind, intelligence. Intelligence is a realm of intelligence. These are material. The mind is a material element, you know. So it's not just I have a mind. The mind is mind, and we have access to the mind because we're the jiva. And when the jiva is bewildered, it's because the mind is identifying with the body. The mind, the jiva thinks, the mind convinces the jiva that, oh, this is me. Look at my hands. Look at my feet. Look at my nose. Don't I look good? Oh, I've got a pimple. How terrible. I'm going to do something about it. That's the mind. But if the mind, withdraw your mind from the objects of the senses, since the Bhagavad Gita says it is, Withdraw your mind from the objects of the senses. And Bhaktisiddhanta, to put it a little bit more brutally, he said, in the morning I beat my mind, how
With
is it,
shoe.
50 or 100 or whatever times with a shoe, and at night 100 times with a stick. Why? Because the mind has to let go of the body. The mind is flexible. Like I like to use the example, like when you buy honey in a plastic bottle that's shaped like a bear, a honey bear. Well, the honey has no reason to believe it's not a bear, right? But if you take that same honey and put it in a different shaped bottle, it won't have any reason to believe it's not in that one too, So you take on the mind takes on the identity of the creature that the body happens to be, which is not spiritual thing. It's earth. It's Rajagun. I mean, it's Tamagun, Rajagun, Sattvagun, under the control of those planets and everything, has nothing to do with the soul, and the mind can be taken away from it and remain with the jiva. So when the jiva has control that way, then you have the power of being self-realized, and you're able to to communicate with people as they are, as you are to them as they are.
Well, see,
Does it
the
make-
thing that is that the advantage that we have is that because the mind is controlled by the intelligence. So who is the intelligence? We have Srila Prabhupada as our intelligence. People don't have that. They don't have the knowledge. So the amazing thing that Krishna is giving me with this is that, when I go in and I tune in with somebody and I start telling them, I'm feeling this pain, you've got pain in this lower back, you've got this, you've got that. I can hear there's issues with abandonment. So they get like, oh my God, how did you know all these things? I just know somehow or other, I tune in, I just know. So they immediately trust me, right? So if I say to them, so everything I say to them, they just accept it and just do it. So therefore, when I tell them that God is right there in their heart, they accept it. Because, I've already earned their trust and I'm already able to do the healing work. So then by the time I tell them they're the soul, and then what we're getting rid of is the false ego, and they just accept it. And then they're ready to hear Srila Prabhupada. It's really nice. It's a nice platform,
It's not like Christianity. It's not like Judaism. It's not like Islam. Because those are forced beliefs where you're punished if you don't accept the dogma, or you have the disbelief beaten out of you, which is hardly a way to become a faithful lover of God. Yes, but may I mention that when you mention mind, intelligence, the mind is a flexible thing, as we've discussed, and you beat it 50 times with a shoe and a stick. The intelligence is a dimension. It's not that I have intelligence or you have intelligence. We have access to the platform of intelligence, which is like the Smithsonian Institution. It's the compendium of all the knowledge existing in the universe is that platform of intelligence. And we don't have any of it. We don't own any of it. We can access it. I have known karmis that were not even vegetarians, that were multi-level salespeople, describing how they would go in their trance and talk with Abraham Lincoln talking to Theodore Roosevelt or something like that. Why? Because they're both on that level of intelligence. All they have to do is bring them together, and they can hear the algorithmic relationship between these two people that you can't get by studying them in books or at school. So the platform of intelligence is vast, and it's accessible through meditation. And the Tibetans access it through what they call bardos. There's different sections in the realm of intelligence that the Tibetans go to. I don't know if you're familiar with bardos, but they're there. And but everything else is there too. It's a material thing. It's described as a tree with the roots going up and the branches going down. Whereas real intelligence is spiritual intelligence, where the roots are going down and the and the branches are up. And it's described like that in the Bhagavatam, that the roots facing up are mean material energy. It's a reflection, a perverted reflection of the reality of spiritual existence and pastimes in life and houses and trees and grass and cows, all on the vertical. They're standing on their feet. Whereas in the material world, it's as though everything were upside down because it's a perverted reflection. Why perverted? You look in the river, a tree reflected in the river, it wobbles. Then you look at the tree, it doesn't wobble. You look at the river, it does wobble, same tree. So that's the material world, is a perverted reflection of spiritual reality. That's how Prabhupada describes it. So then the realm of intelligence is vast and it's accessible by everybody, like an architect getting an idea of how to make a very nice looking building. He goes into the archetypal structures present in the realm of intelligence. He sees the building and it's perfect. Then he brings it down in his mind, which is not so perfect, completely perfect, and he begins to draw it on a piece of paper, which gets really imperfect. And he draws using a pencil to make a line. A line has no dimension, has only 2 dimensions. It doesn't have any shape. Or he makes a point and draws a line between 2 points. A point doesn't have any dimension, so you can't draw one. And the line doesn't have any, has only 1 dimension, and that's the from here to there dimension. So he starts drawing it out to make blueprints. So he makes the blueprints, he gives it to the contractor. The contractor has a hangover and he starts buying the materials, and then he starts to build it. And it never turns out exactly the way the architect drew it. So when he builds it, he finished building, they say, oh, what a beautiful masterpiece of a building. And the architect is saying, not even close to what I had in mind. Certainly not close to what I saw in my vision in the material platform of intelligence. It was perfect there, and it got worse the more it came to earth. And then when the contractor got, and then the janitor made it even worse after it was built. It's, yuckies all over the place in that perfect building. So do you get the picture? That's how it works.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why when you work on the energetic realm, it's much easier. You don't have to worry so much about the physical matter. But interestingly enough, I don't know, maybe since a year ago, somehow Krishna's empowering more, maybe because it's needed.
Yes.
Before I was like mostly working with people on the emotional, mental platform, psychological platform. And then since about a year, he's had me work on people on the physical platform. Krishna, because Krishna. He's sending me, he sends me people because I never know, like I don't do any advertising at all, like none. And somehow or other people find me and then they talk about me, and it just goes like that. Like my website is Healing Heart Coach. I just chose that name, Healing Heart Coach. But anyway, so the thing, like there was one person once that came to me that had problems with his bone marrow. His bone marrow was not producing any white blood cells. So when I tuned into his bone marrow, I could feel the sadness in there. There was a lot of sadness. And I realized he actually wanted to die, like internally. And so no wonder his bone marrow was not working. So we did like a whole healing. I think it took 2 hours. And literally 3 days later, he was in full remission. His bone marrow was back. So
that is truly amazing.
Well, the thing is that then I understood more and more because, we get realizations from Srila Prabhupada. So I realized more and more, what is matter anyway? Matter is dead, is dead matter. What activates matter is our consciousness. So
The jiva.
you exactly. So we can activate it this way or that way, but because everyone has just got all this trauma and they think a lot of time, what I teach to my clients is that when you think about something, if it's just a thought and you don't internalize it, then just don't worry about it. Just ignore it. There's no, there's no substance. It's like a cloud. But if you internalize the thought, it becomes a belief. And that's when it starts generating emotions. And then you have to look at it and get it out. Because a lot of time I find even with devotees, they think they're transcending. So they got angry or they got resentful or whatever it is. And it's emotional. And then they rationalize themselves out of it without dealing with the emotions. So then I tune in within and it's like they've been holding on to the same emotions for 20 years, but they thought they were over it, but they weren't. But it comes out when we
Exactly.
get triggered. Comes out in so many different ways. So, but that's the problem, is that these emotions keep us in a mode of ignorance because
Exactly.
they're very heavy, dense emotions, dense energies,
And that's why in Iskcon, after 50 years, the people are still Kanista Adhikaris, which means they still see themselves as their body. Or they can think, I'm wearing a garland, I'm shaved my head, I'm like this or that. They still identify with their bodies. The only way to be able to do anything is to realize, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the soul and I have a body. Therefore, I don't go where the body goes goes where I go. I'm the soul. If I want to go somewhere, I'm not saying to the body, come on, you lump of flesh, let's walk down the street. No, you want to go somewhere, that's your intention. And your intention is spiritual, if it's spiritual. Your intention is to act in behalf of Krishna. So you walk in behalf of Krishna, and your body has no choice but to follow you, does it?
Exactly.
We are not the body. Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spiritual.
Yeah, and if
body's good.
it's not realized, that's when like there's a disconnect between the heart and the head, is when it's disconnected. So a lot of time I help people to come, because the thing is, it's actually, once you realize this and you accept it, all you have to do is tune in to the subconscious and then release these things. It's actually very simple, because the mind is meant to be controlled by us. So it's very simple. I just ask my clients to say, okay, I choose to release this, and that. The resentment towards my father, da, 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 da. I release it now. And once they say that, then the energy just starts moving out.
Wow.
So it's actually much simpler than we think. But then after this, like, your whole energy body feels so much lighter.
It's not only simpler than what we think, it's the simplest thing in existence.
It's very simple.
The jiva is infinitesimal, and you know what Prabhupada says? Consciousness is an indicator of the soul.
Yes.
So Aham Brahmasmi, I am conscious. My body's not conscious. I act as though my body pretends to be conscious, but that's just because the mind is a unfaithful girlfriend or unfaithful wife. And if it's running off with the body instead of staying with me, the jiva. So you grab the mind back from the body and say, sit there. No, can I identify with the little baby pinky finger on the body? No, whack, you can't. Come back. Oh, but in the end, the mind surrenders and has to obey the jiva. And at that point, the mind then experiences transparency and pleasure, being a spiritual vehicle instead of just pus, blood, stool, and urine,
Absolutely.
So this is amazing. Yep. Meeting you is I beg, is it possible? Yeah, Ramachandra, is it possible that you can join us tomorrow night.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It was nice meeting you guys. It was nice meeting the spiritual healer, right, Mataji? It was great, right? I'll
Thank you,
sometime come to
Prabhu.
you for sure for healing me
Okay.
too, right?
Can you
Jai, I need to
Vaishnavi
leave.
Prabhu, can you
Honorable
join us?
Hare Krishna.
Can you join 8 o'clock tomorrow night? Because I really would like you to hear that paper that Ramachandra couldn't play tonight. And if you hear the paper and some of the other things we've written, I think you may see that we're not just talking. We're hunting, we're shooting bears, not pigeons. We're out for the real thing.
Well, is there any way, Ramachandra Prabhu, that you can send this to me somehow or other?
You mean the recording? Yes, it's gonna be recorded. It's been recorded. So
Well,
yes, I'll send it to you.
Because
Yeah,
the only problem is from Florida. See, at 8 o'clock, it's already like 11 o'clock for me, my time.
yeah.
So at the moment, it's 1:15 in the morning for my time at the moment.
Oh, I
And
see.
so,
Right.
so it's really late. I don't usually go to bed that late. Or should I say that early because it's now morning. But that's the only problem for me. It's the time because it's so late. I'm in a
Okay.
whole different time zone. And if
Well-
I do that too much, I will be totally wiped out.
Okay, well, you just can't have that. Ramachandra, if you give Ramachandra your email address, he can
Yes.
email it to you.
Sure.
I can
Yes,
do
I'll
that.
do that.
It's not
Yes.
quite the same impact. And we will be broadcasting it tomorrow night as part of our program. And if we do that, you could get it off. It'll be recorded somewhere, right, Ramachandra?
Yes, it'll be recorded. Yes.
So maybe you can send her the recording of it too, as how it's being read out. loud.
Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that.
Should I
it's getting late,
Should I
so-
put? Yeah. Should I put my email here? Or should I just text it to you?
Just text me. Just text me it. I'll
Okay.
add you to the
Yeah,
group.
no sense in giving it to the whole world.
Yes, just send it to me via
Okay.
message, private message. Okay. So
Yeah.
Narayan
Okay,
Prabhu, it's
perfect.
10:15, so we're gonna end in about 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, is Rupa Manjari still on?
No, it's past 10 o'clock, so she left.
Was she there until 10?
Yeah, just about 10:05 or something. She left about
That's great.
10
That's
minutes
great.
ago. All right, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining Vaishnavi Prabhu. Very wonderful to hear your Krishna conscious experience and your journey. Very healing also. So
Well, Ramachandra, wouldn't you think that she is right in tune with what we're doing? That's why I want her to be aware of what we are writing,
yes, exactly.
Because-
Many of the points that she has said, we have discussed and we have understood just by having this meeting. So that's just great how she actually understood all these things by Prabhupada and Krishna's mercy,
Yeah, and it's like the situation with the GBC. Prabhupada
Yeah.
created the direction of management. We have all the documentation of how the GBC flatly refused to obey Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
They refused.
Yes. Yeah.
They flatly refused. Their attitude was, Prabhupada, you sit tight and translate, and we are Westerners, we understand corporations, we'll make Iskcon a corporation, and we will, and we'll run Iskcon and you do the translation. They saw it as a power grab for themselves. But the fact is, Iskcon Incorporated is a corporation, but Prabhupada, Vaishnavi Prabhu, are you aware that Prabhupada wanted each temple to be individually incorporated
Oh, yes.
as Iskcon?
Absolutely. Yes. Very much.
Yeah.
Yes. No
So that means that
centralization.
That means the elected GBC. Did you ever see Hayagriva's?
No,
book called
Prabhu.
The
I
Heart?
think I want to end here. So it's past
Yes.
a little too much time for her and for us. So
Okay.
we got to keep it to the next session. We can go on for
Well, she's
couple
not going to
hours.
be in the next session. But I understand.
we'll connect. You can
Yes,
send me
sure.
Narayan Prabhu's phone number and we can connect
Yes,
privately
sure,
as
I'll do
well.
Phone number,
I'll-
email, everything, and we'll be
Right.
connected completely. And we want your contribution in writing also for the League of 10K. The League of 10K means we're all giving to the truth. We're talking jiva to jiva, not jiva to body or body to body.
Jai. Hari
Correct.
bol.
Hari
Thank
Oh,
you,
Bol.
okay, Hare
everybody.
Krishna.
Thank you, Hari
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hari Krishna Prabhus.
Hare Krishna,
Vrinda,
Hare Krishna,
Prabhu.
Vrinda. Hari
It's so good to
bol.
see you. Now you can have some nice, well-deserved sleep.
Thank you
Or
very
if you
much,
play.
Prabhu.
Good
Hari
night. Good night.
bol.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert Chandra. Sorry, I was overwhelmed by this amazing realizations coming my direction from Vaishnavi Joshi.
Jai, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Hari bol.
Krishna.
I'm ending it here now. Hare Krishna.